Hello, everyone. Welcome to Big League Dream, the podcast, a show about baseball, dreams, and family. I'm John Gonzalez, the dad, and our podcast is a lot of fun. It's me and my three sons talking about the game we love so much. I have son number 3 with me here right now, not in favorite order, but in birth order. Zane, how you doing?
Good. It's early.
It's early. We decided to do an early morning podcast. We'll tell you why in a second. Zane and I are in Dunbar, West Virginia, and his team down here is playing baseball. We'll talk about that in a second, but let's introduce the other two sons. Son number 1 is Zach Gonzalez. Zach, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Starting to wake up a little bit, so I'm here. I'm ready to go.
And son number 3 is, see, I mess this up every single time. Why do I mess up birth order? Son number 2 is Ty. And Ty, how's it going over there, buddy?
Best for last. That's why you mess it up. Doing good. Excited to have all of us on the podcast. The first episode this season with all of us on it. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yes, it's a struggle early in the season to get everyone on because, well, somebody here is coaching baseball, and we can understand why that would be so busy. But Zach, did you love how I worked in buddy with Ty? Why did we always put those two words together, Zach?
I don't know. That's just natural, right? Or do you want to go over the whole buddy story?
No, we don't need to. We'll save that for another day. But I love how your girls. You have 2 girls, and you're based out in Charlotte, North Carolina. I love how your 2 girls always say, when they see photos of Ty or see Ty in person, they call him Ty Buddy.
Yep, that's what they know him by. Ty Buddy. Ty Buddy and Wub. Uncle Wub.
Uncle Wub. Well, I'm with Uncle Wub right now, and it's the start of a new season here at Indiana University South Bend. His Titans are down here playing doubleheader Saturday, and then doubleheader on Friday. Today is Saturday, and it's early in the season, and guys got a couple big wins yesterday. Zane,
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a slugfest in the first game. Pitcher started out well and then gave up a big inning in the 5th, gave up 8 runs and, kind of lost our lead, but, had some big hits late. Offense was doing really well with 2 outs, extending innings, really competitive at bats with 2 strikes, and kept us in the ball game and gave us a shot to, come back and tie it up in the 9th, and then put up 3 more was it the 12th? Mm-hmm. Was it 12th? Yeah. 3 more in the 12th, and you win a ball game. And sometimes it's not always pretty, but a win's a win.
So Ty, guess what? Guess what
What's
inning that your mom and I showed up to watch the game yesterday?
Oh, that's tough. I'm gonna guess, since Zane mentioned the 8-run 5th inning, I'm gonna guess that's when he showed up and brought the bad luck.
100%. 100%. After the second game, he's like, "Hey, we're your good luck charm. You got 2 wins." I go, "We scored. You gave up 8 runs right when you got."
That's how it always works out, right?
Oh, I tried spinning it, Zach. I tried spinning it like, hey, we're your good luck charms. You just won 2 games. I guess we got to come to all your games now. And then his head coach, Doug Woodsy, says, yeah, you got to come to Florida with us. And he shoots back with, yeah, no, you're not.
It's because he loves you so much, Dad. He's just showing you that tough love.
Yeah, he's keeping it real. Well, today's episode, we're going to talk about what it's like for northern teams to come down to the South and play baseball early in the season, because I think it's kind of I wouldn't say a misconception. I think there's some reason for it, is that players in the North, especially college players, have a tough time. I mean, we just don't have the field availability. I think nowadays it's a little different because there's indoor facilities where you can practice and so forth, but it's not the same as being outdoors and getting those reps on a real field. Although I don't know about yesterday's field. Turf, is that a real field these days?
Oh yeah.
So I guess turf is everywhere. But Zach and Ty, you both played college baseball. What is it like, Zach, for you? Do you remember those early memories of you going down with your team, whether you were in Jackson at Jackson College playing there or at fall at Davenport? It's a big disadvantage to come down here and play teams that already played a handful of games.
Yeah, absolutely. I know fly balls are a big factor because you can get in the cage and take live at bats against pitchers. and you can face hitters live. But if you're stuck inside the gym the entire winter, and then you finally get down and play your first outdoor game, if you don't really see many fly balls before that, those outfielders, you just don't have the depth perception yet to pick up those fly balls and track them properly. So can get a little interesting on fly balls. The outfielders reading those for the first time, but also really for the pitchers just to get on like that dirt and feel that mound for the first time is a little tough. And it doesn't help that you go down to Florida or wherever and play these southern teams who are already like 6-2, 5 to 10 games under their belt. It's a little bit nicer when you do go to Florida or wherever you are for your spring trip and you get to face another northern school. So like both teams are 1-0 or have only played 1 or 2 games. Those are a little bit more friendly matchups than playing those Polk Community College, Gulf Coast, Chipola, who are just going to unload.
Right, exactly. Well, Zane, do you think pitchers are ahead of the hitters coming down early in the season like this?
Typically, yeah. Yeah, usually just because, especially for like northern schools, we go live in the cage all the time, but um, hitters don't really have that visual of like where did that ball go, what just happened. And that's kind of what we tell our guys all the time. Like, well, lucky enough, we were able to inter squad twice outside before we played, which we got really, really lucky with that. It's had decent weather so far, and we were able to get outside a few times. Uh, but yeah, usually you're inside and a ball gets hit and it's on the ground and we're like, yeah, sure, ground ball. It's a ground out. But realistically, who knows? It's through the 5-6 hole and it's really a single, and then now the pitcher's got to work with runners on base. But so yes and no. I think what hitters struggle with early on is just getting their timing back. They haven't seen live pitching realistically since like the fall.
Ty, would you agree with that? That hitters it's all about getting their timing and getting comfortable back in the batter's box again?
Yeah, I mean, like Zach said about the dirt, you're in northern states. When you're in the cage, you're on depending on what school you go to, you're on like a turf thing, or you're not in that dirt. You don't have your cleats on. You're not hitting with the cleats on. And for me, that was a huge part of my hitting. I would really dig into the batter's box, and I really would use my spikes when I was hitting. So getting back out to the dirt, it's like, this feels different when you're hitting. But I will say like you guys talked about the advantages of all the teams down south that they have because they're outside all season. I would say it's kind of like an advantage being up north and going, when you go down, like feeling like, okay, it's not as cold. I'd say the worst part is going back when you have a week of like nice weather, then you go back to 30 degrees and snowing. It's like, what the heck? It's hard to adjust like the back and forth.
I have so many photos of us being at those cold games in Michigan or in Indiana. I have the one classic photo. I think we all went to see Zane's game when he was playing at IUSB. And I think I have a photo of Ty and Katie and Zach and Helen and your mom all bundled up in the stands to watch those games, because it seems like it never gets warm at all in the spring. And Zach, I know part of the reason you're living in the South these days is because that's so cold there, right?
Oh yeah, I can't stand the cold weather. I had like an inside joke with some of the pitchers at Davenport my senior year when I was in the bullpen, and I was like, if it's under 50, I'm not pitching. I'm just gonna tell coach, like, not feeling it today. Like, I'm not up today, coach. Like, I'm good.
Zane, I'm sure that wouldn't go over with your pitching staff.
Hey, if kid doesn't want to throw, then sure, probably won't throw for the rest of the year.
He's hardcore. No, but you're right, Ty. Adjusting, one day it's sunny, right? You're wearing your shorts, and it's 70 degrees, 75 degrees. It never gets 75 degrees in a spring game, it seems like, in northern Michigan, or northern states, I should say.
Right. The going back to the cold that's the biggest adjustment. At least it was for me, like, to get used to that again. Like, okay, it's not nice out at all. It's just a big change.
I think another big. I love these spring trips for our northern states when they come down to the South. And let's face it. Sometimes the South could be in West Virginia. It could be in Tennessee or all the way to Florida or Alabama or somewhere down there. But I think it's more of getting your team. I mean, you've been cooped up indoors for the most part over the winter, right? And it gets a little. I don't know how to put it. It's hard to gel, right? Because good days, bad days, you're going to school, or you're doing all these things. You have winter break, you have Christmas break that interrupts everything, right? But you get down and you can actually like bond as a team. Zane, what do you think are the biggest advantages of doing that? You finally get back in the groove of focusing just on baseball, right?
Well, I think for us, like when you get back from holiday break, it's like you pretty much tell those kids like, hey, it's 4 weeks playing, like 4 weeks, and we're on a bus and we're going and playing. So, I think it's not ideal that we're inside for 95% of that time leading up to opening day. And then when you have opening day, you're realistically going back inside for a week until you can go play again. But, I think it's just that factor of they see a creep and they can look, they just get fired up and for that.
I think Zach, you probably noticed too, right? Your staff comes together. I mean, you pitchers. I don't. What do you guys do out in the bullpen all the time? Because it seems like you guys just are goofing around.
You obviously get your work in first, but yeah, once the game starts, and I was only in the bullpen my senior year. I was a starter my other years, but yeah, those first like 3-4 innings, you're just chilling, playing games, coming up with funny stuff. Looking at the schedule, who we're playing next, what are they doing? Yeah, a lot of good times.
No, you didn't have that luxury because you're always on the field all the time, right?
Yeah, right. I was in the bullpen for a good amount of my my first season though, but I was doing a lot of pitching and I was doing some catching too. So it was kind of like, oh, get the guys warmed up, let's go. More than screwing around, having fun.
Right. Now, Zane, you've been through this several times. You've coached many years now at the collegiate level. Have you noticed any changes, like when you first started coaching to today? Are players better prepared heading into that once the season starts officially? In January or February, are they getting just better and better prepared every year?
I mean, things have definitely changed. I don't know if you can say they're better prepared. I think it just all comes down to your coaching staff and how you're preparing them, if they're going to be prepared or not. No, I mean, I think the main difference is like a lot of junior colleges are playing earlier now. Like I know when we were in junior college, we wouldn't open up till spring break, and that was pretty standard across all northern states. And nowadays, like you look at Michigan junior colleges and they're opening up in February, and that was kind of unheard of back in the 2010s, when we were playing junior college baseball. So that's kind of changed a little bit, which helps the junior college guys transition to their 4-year schools. And then the high school kids it's just a whirlwind for them. I think it'll always be a whirlwind for them because they think they got it figured out because they played, 50 travel ball games sick, dude. You went to a tournament week. So it's always a whirlwind for those high school kids managing class, weight room, practice, games, and just going. But being prepared, I think it just comes down to the coaching staff and how you're getting your guys ready to go.
Well, I'm going to mention the parents' perspective in a second, but one last thing on the player perspective. Zach mentioned it a few minutes ago that sometimes, or maybe Ty mentioned it, sometimes if you're playing another northern state down south, it's almost kind of better because you're matching equal talents as opposed to not talents, but experiences early in the season. Here at this weekend here in West Virginia, you're playing two schools relatively to the north, I guess. One in Ohio, one from Indiana. And you guys did really well yesterday. So is it better, do you think, to match up against? Would you rather match up against those schools, or would you rather match up against teams that already played 20 games?
I think I'd rather just have a more balance. Whereas like early on, you're playing someone who's it's either their first weekend or they've only got one weekend under their belt, and kind of build yourself up. And then I would rather go down to Florida and play really, really good teams and then rather than face, like for 4 weeks in going to Florida, I don't want to face Northern schools where it's their first time playing outside. Because by that time we're getting ready to roll at a conference, so it's usually your last box to check off before you start conference play. So you want to face kind of that tougher competition as you're going into conference play to really gear yourself up. So it is just having a good mix of it. That's huge. Like last week, we played number 25, number 9 in the country, and some good teams out of their conferences, like schools out of the WAC that are in the top part of the WAC, which that's what Zach played in. So he kind of knows that competition, but all those schools had about 10 games under their belt, and it's our first time playing. So
Yeah.
so it's a little tough, but and you got to find a way to buckle down and get it done. It doesn't really matter.
Right. Zach, I'm sure it's fun to play against those ranked teams, all right? Because you can see where you need to be.
Yeah, totally. And especially to the game of baseball being so like anybody can beat anybody on any given day, right? So if you have just the right pitching matchup on that day, now college baseball is a little more volatile. Things can get out of hand very quickly either way. But yeah, it's fun to like match up a team that is ranked number 25 in the country, have a really good game against them or beat them. It's a big confidence boost for your whole team going forward the rest of the season.
Ty, do you have any special memory of spring games down south when you played Kalamazoo Valley?
Yeah, I have a memory that comes to my mind right away. A good friend of mine, Trevor, we were both pitchers at the time, pitcher only. And I remember we were just so excited to be in Florida, like it's nice out, that we decided, since we were so excited, to 6 o'clock in the morning go run 5 miles on the beach because it was just so nice out, to come to a team meeting being like, why did we do that? Why did we just run 5.5 miles first thing in the morning? We were just so excited to be outside because it had been so long, excited to throw, excited to go run. It was just crazy.
How about you, Zach? Do you have a memory from your playing days?
I have some really good memories from my junior year when I was at Davenport and we went to California. So we played a 3 or 4 game series with California Baptist out in Riverside, California, who's now a Division I school. And that was a super cool experience to get to fly across the country to a place where like 99% of our team have never been in the state of California before, and just fly into LAX and go to like this gorgeous campus. And the school let us eat. Like they were like, "Hey, we'll pay for your hotel and we'll pay for your food. You can eat at our dining hall. We just need to get games under our belt. We just need to get some wins under our belt. Pretty much is why they brought us out. You just got to pay for the flight to get here." So we ate. We ate on campus in their dining hall, and their dining hall was just so amazingly like perfect. I don't know. The whole campus was just stunning, but it's like you see stuff like that on TV, like Laguna Beach, and you're like, this isn't real. It's just in the TV shows. And then you get there and you're like, oh my gosh, people actually live this way. It was insane.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's not a trip I went on. That would have been a fun trip to go to for sure. Zaina, you want to wrap it up? Any of your favorite memories of spring trips during your playing days?
I mean, I spent a whole day in Georgia in my sophomore year because our bus broke down like 3 times. So that was fun.
The old Cougar Cruiser.
Yep, the Cougar Cruiser, we got going and blew a tire and waited 3 hours for it to get fixed, and then got back on the road, blew another tire. Had to wait 3 hours to get that one fixed, and then the guy tells us, "Hey, 2 more are gonna blow. You got to go an hour back in the wrong direction and get it serviced and get all your tires changed." So that was a fun day.
I think that was your first trip, wasn't it?
No, that was my sophomore year.
Okay.
That's
Well,
that too.
first.
Oh, I was gonna say that's a little bit worse than my experience with the Cougar Cruiser. At my first spring trip, we got stuck in the sand. Like we parked it like by the bullpen, and it got stuck in like the sand by the field. We all had to get out and push it.
No, Dad, that all these memories do not, it doesn't include us having a good outing or like a comeback win or anything like that. It's about the bus. It's about the dining hall.
No, that's what I love about baseball, right? I mean, the games will come and go, and the wins and losses will happen. You'll forget what year that happened, but you will never forget where you were on a beach, getting stuck in the sand, checking out Laguna Beach, whatever. Those things, those memories last forever. From a parent's perspective, it's fun when you get a chance to come down and watch you, right? Don't get a chance to talk a lot to the players, and I think that's an important thing that parents should know or remember that they're on their trip and they're doing their thing and they're playing, right? You're there just to support them and watch, and help whenever you can. Maybe I think one time I might have brought Zach a Gatorade. Or like, no, don't bring me anything. Just it's okay. I'm good. We're good. We got plenty of stuff here, And I'm like, oh, okay. I don't need to bring. That's not like the little league or travel team games, right? Where you're like, hey, mom and dad, did you bring me anything to eat?
Yeah, right. I think it's because a part of that too is because all three of us played for CP, and Wags, rest in peace, Waggy. He would always say, I loved that he would always say this: no parents allowed in the dugout in between double headers. And kids didn't understand that. He'd say, does your mom go sit on the bench when you're playing basketball? Does your mom come down to the football field at halftime and give you a sandwich? No parents in the dugout. I always thought that was great. It's like, yeah, you don't do that during the basketball game. You don't come down there and say, hey, here's an apple, here's your Gatorade. Like, no, you don't do that.
In high school, we didn't have extra Gatorades though. Like you would have to go down the foul line to get a Gatorade from dad. And then in college, you have peanut butter sandwiches and bananas in the dugout. Like you can just grab at any time. It's a bit different.
It is.
Yeah, right.
It is a bit different. We're gonna wrap things up here because that's a little busy already at breakfast time at the hotel. Those are always fun times too, right, guys?
Oh yeah, breakfast at the hotel. Yeah, when 30 kids just show up out of nowhere and the hotel doesn't know what to do.
Well, this has been a lot of fun, kind of reliving some of our memories too of spring trips, but also getting some real information out to people that are curious of what it's like for northern schools to come down to the south. Anything you guys want to add before we wrap things up? I guess just ask Zane first.
Yeah, where'd you find that Jeff Weaver bobblehead for $40? Where's that listing at?
That listing is on eBay from a guaranteed seller from Comstock Park.
So that's you.
Not me.
Not me. No, not me.
It's probably the Whitecaps.
It probably is.
Jarecki has a little side business going. We don't know about.
He's digging up all the old bobbleheads, just listing them.
The general manager from the Whitecaps has a side business. What's his name? What's the seller's name? Well, I should mention it.
Right. Whoever guessed the price is getting this one mailed to them again. So, yeah, let us know in the comments. But one thing I want to add real quick before we sign off, Zane, we were talking on the chat a little bit early this morning. Zach mentioned that we wanted to ask you, do you think it's easier now for kids to go play college baseball with the access that they have now versus when we were playing college baseball, as far as like reaching out to coaches and video and social media and stuff like that and all the new programs?
Yeah, so you're saying like in terms of like recruiting, like getting seen, right?
Well, we were also talking about all these new programs. Like there's so many new college baseball programs out there. Is there almost more opportunity for kids? There's more roster spots?
Yeah, I mean, I would say one, the chances of a kid getting seen are way better because every kid's got Twitter, every kid's got Instagram, every kid's got YouTube that they can send out links. Coaches check their email religiously, and it's very easy for me to click on a video. It's not like when Zach was in high school and he's mailing out, DVDs and hoping that coach pops it in and watches it. It's also kind of a hope that I'm going to click on that link too, because, there's times I scroll through and I read what the kid starts to say and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good. And just hit delete. I don't even click on it, or I might click on it to see what it actually is. So, you can reach more schools a lot easier as far as where media is now. There's also, like you said, a lot more programs. So your chances of getting, something back are very high because, especially private schools right now are kind of struggling a little bit. So they're trying to fill up rosters, kind of boost enrollment. And I think that's kind of the hard thing for some kids is kind of figuring out, okay, this school like want me to actually play and help them win, or am I just gonna boost the roster? So there's that part of it too, but the access that kids have now is way more, and there's a lot more opportunity as opposed to 5-10 years ago, just because, it's private schools are struggling a little bit. They're going to add sports. That's usually just what they do. Just say, let's add sports, boost enrollment, see what we can do. If not, then they'll probably close. So a lot more opportunities. Junior colleges are adding. NCCAA schools are popping up with baseball. Like even in the Michigan Junior College, like they've added, like I told you guys to look it up, like they've added 5+ schools with baseball since we were playing. That was, 6-7 years ago.
Good question. Good follow up to the last to some things we've been talking about off the air. All right, Ty, can you wrap things up for us and tell us where to get more information if they want to follow the podcast?
Yes, thank you all for listening to this episode. We really appreciate it. You can follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, at BLDpod. That's at BLDPOD. We're also on TikTok if you want to see our short form videos at Big League Dreaming. And of course, wherever you're listening to this podcast right now, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and of course, YouTube. We'll see you on the next one next Saturday at 9 a.m. for Big League Dreaming, the podcast.